Today is December 9th, 2025. This is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, I got a word for you. Co-belligerent. Do you know what that means? You've heard it before,
Yeah.
right? Do you know what it means? It means like people who are normally, like maybe they don't see things together the same, but they will join together to fight against a common enemy.
Okay.
So, for instance, like Protestants and Catholics joining up for the pro-life cause.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are co-belligerents. And today, in our text, we're going to see some co-belligerents lining up together to fight against Moab. And
Okay.
these guys are, who are the co-belligerents?
So we've got Israel and Judah, and those kings are
Jehoshaphat
and Jehoram.
And Jehoram joining up with the king of Edom to fight against Moab.
Okay.
That's chapter 3, and then we're going to read 2 Kings chapter 3, and chapter 4 we're just going to read about Elisha's miracles. We're going to see Elisha like sprouting and just showing forth the miraculous power of God working through him.
Okay. Yeah, and Edom and Moab are both like on the southeast side of the Dead Sea.
Yep.
Southeast. Yeah, southeast. And Moab, they are descendants of I'm not sure who they're descendants of, but that's where Ruth was from.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then Edom are descendants of Esau.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, here we come. Chapter 3, 2 Kings. In the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, that Judah's in the south, Jehoram, the son of Ahab, became king over Israel in Samaria, that is, in the north, and he reigned 12 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, though not like his father and mother, for he put away the pillar of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he clung to the sin of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which he made Israel to sin. He did not depart from it. And so, again, if you're familiar with the kings, you know Jeroboam was the first king of Israel. He was bad. You always compare that, but he wasn't quite as bad as Ahab was because he took away this Baal. But that's Jehoram in the north.
Okay, verse 4. Now Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheep breeder, and he had to deliver to the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But when Ahab died, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. So King Jehoram, that's Ahab's son, marched out of Samaria at that time and mustered all Israel. Basically, he's going to go to the king of Moab and say, give me my sheep that you agreed to.
Give me my sheep.
And he sent word to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me to battle against Moab? And he said, I will go. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. Then he said, by which way shall we march? Jehoram answered, by the way of the wilderness of Edom.
Okay, that means that would go south of the Dead Sea, up through Edom and up into Moab. So that's why they're going to join with the king of Edom, I believe. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah, and that's why you're asking the king of Judah too, because for Israel in the north, you got to go to the south to Judah, and the king of Edom. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and when they had made a circuitous march of 7 days, there was no water for the army or for the animals that followed them. Then the king of Israel said, Alas, the Lord has called these 3 kings to give them into the hand of Moab. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there no prophet of the Lord here, through whom we may inquire of the Lord? Then one of the kings of Israel answered, Elisha, the son of Shaphat, is here, who poured water on the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat said, The word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him.
Because they need water.
Yes.
And Elisha said to the king of Israel, What have I to do with you? Go to the prophets of your father and to the prophets of your mother, Ahab and Jezebel, like the prophets of Baal.
Yes.
But the king of Israel said to him, No, it is the Lord who has called these 3 kings to give them into the hand of Moab. And Elisha said, As the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, were it not that I have regard for Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would neither look at you nor see you. But now, bring me a musician.
Let's play some music.
And when the musician played, the hand of the Lord came upon him, and he said, Thus says the Lord, I will make this dry stream bed full of pools. For thus says the Lord, You shall not see wind or rain, but that stream bed shall be filled with water, that you shall drink, you, your livestock, and your animals. This is a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will also give the Moabites into your hand. And you shall attack every fortified city and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree and stop up all the springs of water, and ruin every good piece of land with stones. The next morning, about the time of the offering of the sacrifice, water came from the direction of Edom till the country was filled with water.
Right, without rain, it just sort of came up from
filled
below.
up.
It was a miracle. When all the Moabites heard that the kings had come up to fight against them, all who were able to put on armor, from the youngest to the oldest, were called out and were drawn up at the border. And when they rose early in the morning and the sun shone on the water, the Moabites saw the water opposite them as red as blood. And they said, "This is blood. The kings have surely fought together and struck one another down. Now then, Moab, to the spoil." But when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose and struck the Moabites till they fled before them. And they went forward, striking the Moabites as they went, and they overthrew the cities, and on every good piece of land every man threw a stone until it was covered. They stopped every spring of water and felled all the good trees, till only its stones were left in Kir Haresh, and the slingers surrounded and attacked it. When the king of Moab saw the battle was going against him, he took with him 700 swordsmen to break through opposite the king of Edom, but they could not. So he was trying to escape. Then he took his oldest, who was to reign, in his place, and offered him for a burnt offering on the wall. And there came great wrath against Israel, and they withdrew from him and returned to their own land. So, wow, apparently this child sacrifice in some regards worked. It's amazing. Okay, so here, though, we have 3 kings rising up. 2 Kings 3, we have 3 kings rising up to fight against Moab. And it looks here like things went well, but things were turned against them in verse 27.
Yeah.
So, okay, chapter 4. Now we see Elisha really coming on the scene. We saw some of his miracles in chapter 2 of parting the water and healing the water and calling out the she-bears against the boys and girls. And now here in chapter 4, we see
Elisha's miracles galore.
That's another song. Elisha's miracles galore in 2 Kings chapter 4. Elisha's miracles galore. The widow jar of oil paid her debt.
He raised a woman's child from the dead. Death is removed from the pot of stew, and he fed 100 men with some bread.
Fed 100 men with some bread. Okay, so that's our little song. That's the... But really, there's a 5th miracle because he prophesied to this woman who's going to have a child.
A barren woman had a child, yeah.
Okay, chapter 4.
Chapter 4, verse 1. Now, the wife of one of the sons of the prophets cried to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord. But the creditor has come to take my 2 children to be his slaves." And Elisha said to her, "What shall I do for you? Tell me. What have you in the house?" And she said, "Your servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil." Then he said, "Go outside, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels, and not too few. Then go in and shut the door behind yourself and your sons, and pour into all these vessels. And when one is full, set it aside." So she trusted him. So she went from him and shut the door behind herself and her sons. And as she poured, they brought the vessels to her. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." And he said to her, "There is not another." Then the oil stopped flowing. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on the rest."
Sounds a lot like the miracle of Elisha in 1 Kings 17, where he did much the same thing with the widow of Zarephath.
Right, and her bread and her flour and her oil did not run out.
Yep.
But with this, I mean, it must have been a lot of oil, and the oil must have been very valuable if they could pay all their debts and live on the rest.
Yep. Okay, verse 8. One day, Elisha went on to Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to eat some food. So whenever he passed that way, he would turn in there to eat food. And she said to her husband, "Behold now, I know that this is a holy man of God who is continually passing our way. Let us make a small room on the roof with walls, and put there for him a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so that whenever he comes to us, he can come in. He can go in there."
One day he came there, and he turned into the chamber and rested there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, "Call this Shunammite." When he had called her, she stood before him, and he said to him, "Say now to her, see, you have taken all this trouble for us. What is to be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army?" She answered, "I dwell among my own people." And he said, "What then is to be done for her?" Gehazi answered, "Well, she has no son, and her husband is old." He said, "Call her." And when he had called her, she stood in the doorway. And he said, "At this season, about this time next year, you shall embrace a son." And she said, "No, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant." Basically, that sounds too good to be true.
Yes,
I don't want to hope in that.
It's very similar to what the three men said when they came and visited Abraham and Sarah.
Right.
About this time next year, you have a child.
Yeah, yep. Verse 17, but the woman conceived, and she bore a son about that time the following spring, as Elisha had said to her.
Yep, what a precious son born of her barrenness. When the child had grown, he went out one day to his father among the reapers, and he said to his father, "Oh, my head, my head." And the father said to his servant, "Carry him to his mother." And when he lifted him and brought him to his mother, the child sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. And she went up and laid him on the bed, and the man of God, and shut the door behind him, and went out. And she called to her husband and said, "Send me one of the servants and one of the donkeys, that may quickly go to the man of God and come back again." And he said, "Why will you go to him today? It is neither moon or Sabbath." She said, "All is well." She was lying. Her son is dead.
Yeah.
Then she saddled the donkey, and she said to her servant, "Urge the animal on. Do not slacken the pace for me, unless I tell you." She set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel.
I wonder how far she went and how long this would have taken.
Yep.
When the man of God saw her coming, he said to Gehazi, his servant, "Look, here's the Shunammite. Run at once to meet her and say to her, is all well with you? Is all well with your husband? Is all well with the child?" And she answered, "All is well." And when she came to the mountain to the man of God, she caught hold of his feet, and Gehazi came to push her away. But the man of God said, "Leave her alone, for she is in bitter distress, and the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me." Then she said, "Did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" He said to Gehazi, "Tie up your garments and take my staff and go in your hand and go. If you meet anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not reply, and lay my staff on the face of the child." Then the mother of the child said, "As the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So he arose and followed her. Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the face of the child, but there was no sound or sign of life. Therefore he returned to meet him and told him, "The child has not awakened."
So that was attempt number one to raise the child. And when Elisha came into the house, he saw the child was lying dead on his bed. So he went in and shut the door behind the two of them and prayed to the Lord. And then he went up and lay on the child, putting his mouth on his mouth, his eye on his eye, and his hands on his hands. And as he stretched himself upon him, the flesh of the child became warm. This is much like Elisha did as well, to raise the child. I think it's in 1 Kings 17 as well. And then he got up again, and he walked once back and forth in the house, and went up and stretched himself upon him, and the child sneezed 7 times. And the child opened his eyes. And then he summoned Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite." So he called her, and when she came to him, he said, "Pick up your son." She came and fell at his feet, bowing to the ground, and then she picked up her son and went out.
And Elisha came again to Gilgal when there was a famine in the land. And as the sons of the prophets were sitting before him, he said to his servant, "Set on the large pot, and boil stew for the sons of the prophets." One of them went out to the field to gather herbs, and found a wild vine, and gathered it from his lap full of wild gourds, and came and cut them up into the pot of stew, not knowing what they were. And they poured out some for the men to eat, but while they were eating of the stew, they cried out, "Oh, man of God, there is death in the pot."
I wonder whether it's bad or whether it's causing people to die, just turn rotten. Who knows?
Yeah. And they could not eat it. He said, "Then bring flour." And he threw it into the pot and said, "Pour some out for the men that they may eat it." And there was no harm in the pot. So death is removed from the pot of stew.
And he fed 100 men with some bread. A man came from Baal Shalisha, bringing the man of God bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley and fresh ears of grain in his sack. And Elisha said, "Give to the men that they may eat." But his servant said, "How can I set this before 100 men?" So he repeated, "Give the men that they may eat, for thus says the Lord, they shall eat and have some left." So he set before them, and they ate, and some left, according to the word of the Lord. A little bit like Jesus. When he fed the 5,000. By the way, I've heard also Elijah compared to John the Baptist, and Elisha compared to Jesus. Like, here's a little preview of that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done for today, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.